Good afternoon. I'm Liliana Śmiech, Vice President of Warsaw Institute, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to today's event, Polish-Czech Cultural Cooperation, What Unites Us and What Separates Us. The project is financed in cooperation with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Poland under the Polish-Czech Forum. And we are honored today to host Sylwii Wojtkova, theater dramaturg, PR manager, and producer,
Good afternoon.
and Jan Hernik, editor-in-chief and expert of Warsaw Institute.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Thank you for your today's participation. Well, to start with, diplomatic relations between Poland and the Czech Republic were established on March 23rd, almost 100 years ago. And the root of cooperation between those two countries is a special agreement between the government of the Republic of Poland and the government of Czech Republic on the cooperation in the field of culture, education, and science. And this agreement was concluded in 2003 in Prague. And since this time, we can observe many cultural projects between our countries. So, Sylwii, could you please tell us more about them from your Czech perspective?
So I think it's totally understandable that we see cooperation among Czech and Polish side because as we are neighbors and we have the common borders, but also our languages are both Slavic based. I think they understand also in language and also in cultural thinking as not just agreeable. I think we have a lot of things in common, but due to some historic events and development, we have kind of similarities that can be enriching for both sides of us. We've been cooperating on a cultural side not only from the 21st century, 2003, but one of the older common projects which takes site quite on the border, and Český Těšín and Češín, two cities, but acting almost like one. During the site is the festival without borders, bez hranic, but it was based 1990, which was, and then it was named On the Border. It's an international theater festival that is connecting people from the Polish side and from the Czech side, but also the artists from not just Czech and Polish side, but mainly showing the best of the nowadays offer from the Czech theater side, from the Polish theater side, but also from Slovak and near borders. I think what is the main which can enrich us is maybe the way of thinking and also the way of creating, because we Czech are maybe, I would say, less emotional, more based on humor, and the things we create and the way we think is kind of critical and maybe a lot of mocking, you can see, and the Polish way of presenting great ideas, which sometimes I think we don't really maybe even believe here in Czech Republic, that we tend to automatically mock them or to undermine them because we don't believe it can really happen, and it's so nice to see that in Poland you can see with some devotion and with pride for the great idea, maybe, and the artistic way, more emotional way to work with those ideas. I think that's one of the great parts the Polish culture and the artistic way of Polish artists could offer to the Czech ones,
And
which
because
you
you
don't
mentioned
meet
several,
so much.
yeah. And you mentioned several projects. Do you have like your favorite one, maybe from those that you mentioned?
Uh, the fir- I really do like the one I really do like the one mm, which I mentioned, maybe the oldest one, Bez Hranic, because it's kind of way of nowadays history, since it's a part of the region which tend to be Polish, then Czech, then split in two. But this part, the northeastern part of Czech Republic, which I've been living in for 7 years now, there's it's a cultural mix nowadays. You can feel it in the language, you can feel it in the way of thinking, which is kind of different than the western part of the republic. And it's very nice to see that the cities and the countries could come together. And I think it's for now it's been more than 30 years, but the cooperation works very well because it's been organized. Of course, it's organized by the Polish and the Czech side, and the city. You feel in the cities when you cross the border between Český Těšín and Češin, you can feel the difference that there are not only just two cities, but Czech is much more historical town, which you can't say on the Český Těšín, and it's very nice to see it really united. That the Czechs, who of course tend to come into the Polish side all the time, but the events happen from all over the two cities, and the Czechs and Poles are mixing, and you don't know the difference. And I think that's the youth joining spirits of the project, that they're still together, even though the bridge across the river is separating them, but they also tend to come together, and they're still together.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And Jan, how does it look like from your perspective? Which of these programs are the most popular in Poland regarding Polish-Czech cooperation?
Well, first, I have to admit that I do agree with Sylvie, who said that these relations between Poland and the Czech Republic last. This relation has lasted way longer than just the previous years. And as someone who was born in Poland in Cieszyn, it means a lot, and I do see the similarities in both sides. And also, I agree that there are lots of cultural exchange projects right now. Here I have to admit that even at the Warsaw Institute, we cooperate with the Czech organization. We can mention here, for example, European Values from Prague, under which we conduct such cultural integration. Let's call it like that. So here in Poland, we do have such projects, cooperations also, and we do see value in such cooperations. In my opinion, it is very important that along with tightening bonds between many different European countries, we also have to make sure that that the bonds between the inhabitants of these European countries, the bonds are also tightened up. So these kind of multicultural projects which base on exchanges of the people are very much needed. Of course, many historians point to the fact that in the Habsburg Empire, under which we both lived for some time, we lived rather side by side than with each other. This is kind of a difference. However, I do think that living next to our neighbors also has left some mark on us, on Poles. And I believe it works also in the other way around. Speaking about these cultural exchanges projects and things you mentioned, I have the impression that in Poland, as by my side, the most popular cultural promotion is actually student exchange. When I was still a student, I remember we had lots of international students at our university, and also here in Poland, in Warsaw. So this was like a very direct meeting with international projects on both Warsaw Institute programs, cooperations, and grants with other international institutions, Czech institutions also, but also we do have lots of Erasmus projects and many different kind of cooperations by which we emphasize the need to tighten the relations also between Poland and the Czech Republic.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And actually, you said something that I would like to go on in the next question. You said that we used to live side by side, not together but by a side by side. And I think that in the case of Czech Republic and Poland, we are dealing with this unique paradox that we are close to each other. However, we know just little about each other. And Sylvie, actually, Czech Republic is not that popular in Poland, I must admit. So could you please tell our viewers about theater, about writers that have maybe something to offer to their brothers from Poland? And, just to make it maybe easier for them to check it out.
Well, maybe it's the way of thinking. We're just culturally based, which is why we are not so popular. I don't want to be disrespectful towards Czech when I try to name it, but it may be the roots of what we think about the others, maybe of the bits of stereotypes. But I think it goes really way back, as Jan has already mentioned, that we've been living under the Habsburg. The main historical difference is that Czech lost their nobilities and their maybe elites in the 17th century, and since then the main image of the main focus in Czech maybe literature, in the culture, in the art, it's kind of peasant, someone quite ordinary, and his ordinary life you can imagine as with sitting in some kind of pub, discussing everything, complaining, maybe with a beer. I just want to say that we're since we didn't have those authorities and those noblemen, we tend to live our ordinary life and reflect it in quite ordinary way, and really to not to celebrate it, but maybe mock our life, to laugh at it, to laugh at our own destiny more than to fight for our glory. We're not such a big nation. Poland is much more bigger nation, larger country, so it's just logic that the ambitions of the people were quite different than from Czechs who just lived under someone. If I may, I think there is a quote from Czech film director Jiří Mencel from one interview to a Polish redactor, which I think quite catches it well. He said that the Poles have always fought regardless the price, that the Czechs just want to live. Therefore, instead of manifesting our disgust and doom, we have learned to look at the world with a distance and historically mock our own destiny. For I think that from the Czech literature and culture, for the Poles, Jaroslav Hašek and Švejk, and Hrabal and his picturesque people, and from that, it may seem like the Czech Republic is kind of full of idiots, really, because we don't have heroes in our artistic way. We just want to look at those picturesque, ordinary people who are sometimes strange, but it tells us more about life, and we tend to find it tragicomedic in its way. Not just tragic or not just celebratable, but I think in our way of thinking and in our way of life, we see there is also some little tragedies, and it's necessary to laugh at it, because to laugh means to know more, to understand more. So I think it may be the reason which may seem like we are undermining ourselves, that even we Czechs don't think about Czechs so well, so why should any other nations feel like great about those people? But if I should talk about nowadays literature, I think quite popular are the female writers from for past few years. For example, Karen Lednická, which is from Karviná region, which is region near the Czech-Poland borders, and it's a region with mining history. She has written just now two books of her trilogy. It's called Šikmý kostel in Czech. I think I have it here. Sorry, what is it called in Polish? It's translated into English as the Sloping Church, and it's not just the family saga of a few women that comes from the families of miners, and also connected with the mining tragedy, but it's really connected with the region, which was this region was always international. There were Czechs, there were Jews, there were Polish, there was Germans, and when the industry evolved, and the mining was also the hard part, the work that attracted people from other countries, other regions. But as you know, with this industry, it was during the war stopping and evolving. Of course, it has to affect the families, the people living there. And as I know, Karen Lednická was it struck Czech people not only from this part of the country, from this region, but really for the whole republic. And she became very popular. And as far as I know, she's also translated into Polish. And I think this connected team of the nations living together can be very interesting also for the Poles. And from other interesting female writers, there is also Alena Mornsteinová or Kateřina Tučková. They're both very famous, not only in Czech Republic, but they are being translated into other languages and acknowledged in other countries. And I think the Poland is one of them, from what I found out.
Perfect. I also wrote some of the names to look for the authors after our event. And Jan, what is it like in Poland? Is Czech culture popular? I remember as a child, I used to read fairy tales about the Krecik, Krtek, in Czech. We also read Havel's book now. So tell me, how does it look like on a larger scale? Is this trend increasing? I mean, the Czech culture is becoming more popular. Not really.
Well, I don't see it rising, this trend. However, the Czech culture has a chance to be popular in Poland for a one simple reason, which was already mentioned by Sylvie before. So we share a common roots. This is this basic truth we have to underline here. Both Czechs and Poles showed great love and respect for tradition, folklore, and art, as we already mentioned in our talk today. I believe that the culture in Poland and in the Czech Republic is kind of similar. The best example for this is, of course, this admiration for krecik in Poland, krtek in Czech language. So this is very important to underline that this culture is very present in Poland, and it has been present in Poland for many decades. In Poland, we also have a group of people, of Polish people, inhabitants of Upper Silesia. In Polish, it's called Górny Śląsk. It's one of the voivodeship, and they speak a dialect of the Czech language, which has many words in common with our dialect of Slavic. Actually, the inhabitants of this region of Poland have many issues that are strongly cherished in the Czech Republic, and here we can have a few examples at least. Of course, we already said about arts, but let's look even closer, I think, closer and look at winter sports, for example. Great love in the Czech Republic, they have a great love for the ice hockey. And in Poland, it is also very present, especially in the areas near the Polish and Czech border. We have similar regional cuisine, or forgive me for saying that, but even the love for beer is very present in the Czech Republic and the Republic of Poland. We do love it and appreciate it, and these are the things which very connect us here in the V4 group even. Definitely what Poles can learn from Czechs is a distance for themselves. And this is also, I do agree with Sylvie in this regard, distance to themselves and to matters around them. This is very interesting. I have the impression that our southern neighbors can make fun of themselves more and more. They are more reserved in their lives. So this is the area or the sphere of culture or interpersonal relations where Poles could definitely learn from Czechs. And answering the question about the Czech culture in Poland, I would not say that it's rising. It has a huge potential to rise. This let's say this tendency of Czech art and movies and culture to be more recognizable. However, it has been with us for many years.
Thank you. And actually, I have to admit that, well, my grandparents, they live in a small village next to Krakow. And actually, there's one Czech store. So maybe, well, it's not rising on a larger scale. However, in some places in Poland, I must say, there is a big love for Czech culture, for Czech cuisine, and some other products from Czech Republic. But regarding these stereotypes, you mentioned some of them, and well, the cultural proximity of Poles and Czech is considered to be rather, I would say, supportive of cooperation. However, some researchers show that the cultural differences and differences in partners' mentality are mentioned by almost 75% of respondents. So there are, I would say, significant differences. And also more than 87% see as problematic differences in partners' organizational culture. So Jan, do you think that it is easy for Poland and Czech Republic to cooperate in the field of culture, or maybe there's some impossible to overcome differences?
Oh, well, as I said, due to the fact that our two nations share common roots, there is much room for cooperation. This is what I believe. In the field of culture, it is worth focusing on regional cooperation. This is also what I witnessed living in Czechia, for example, which is quite famous for this Polish-Czech cooperation and strengthening the cultural bonds between these two nations and cities, Polish Cieszyn and Czeski Cieszyn. Folk groups, border towns, this is the good start to talk about the Polish-Czech cooperation, because this is the cornerstone of anything, if you want anything to go higher in this regard. Cultural cooperation should be based on what we have in common, and this is what we do, I believe. On the tradition of Slavic similarities of our speech, it should be also based. And when we have this, it opens all the field of all kind of artistic creativity, such as music, cinema, or even cultivating this already mentioned folk groups. So I would start from maybe not from scratch, because we already have a relationship between our two countries, but I would recommend strengthening the foundation of our relations, which is culture and common roots. A field for cooperation can be found between our countries, for example, in tourism. I believe, and this is what connects, directly connects with culture. A positive symbol in our relation is also in constant growth, for example, in trade and exchange of services, as I know it. And I think this cultural cooperation has its effects in many different kind of cooperations, economic cooperations, or even political, diplomatic cooperation, which we observe, for example, in the occasion of the war in Ukraine. We see that it made also our two countries bonded more together. So yes, I see it, this cultural cooperation, as something very important, and also like a foundation for any other further step in our relations.
Perfect. It's great to hear that there is some space for profound cooperation in the future. And Sylvie, I need to ask you, because there is a myth in Poland that the Czechs do not like the Poles. So is it really just a myth, or our differences are really irreconcilable?
I don't think that's irreconcilable, or the differences are so big. It's as you would say, like the people from the village don't like people from the capital city, or the people from Morava don't like the people from the Bohemia. When there is a lot of myths, and if you would listen to them, you would find out that anyone doesn't like anyone. But what I think, it may be the way of thinking that we just maybe don't understand the some kind of pride, which can be, just quite a normal way of thinking and acting for people in Poland. And for past years and decades, we just came that we're not really kind of proud of anything. So it's unfamiliar for us to act that way. But I don't think that it's really true. We like them. Of course, there are some stereotypes, like that among Czechs, you could hear that they think that that the Poles are just kind of, merchants who's trying to uh, they're trying to intrude them with some poor quality goods, but that's not true. That's just the way of thinking that on the border side the Poles do have markets the Czechs don't have, and they're maybe kind of sometimes jealous of it, and they do come there every time. And every time you come to the market that's near the Czech border, you almost hear Czech, because there is full of Czech people who maybe would like to have it on their way of the border, but then they kind of try to act like they don't like it, but it's the other way around. And to be truth, uh, I'm not sure if Czech it's just if it's like this likability, but that's a fact that you're a larger country, you're a bigger nation, you're much more international because you have communities around the way. So maybe it's a kind of way that we find it. Like we want to measure us to you, and we were much more smaller, and we don't really like to to acknowledge it. So we find just little things that we tend to say that we don't understand about each other. But I think it's just as Jan said, the thing is that we have similar roots, and the regional way, uh, the regions which are close together, the people are much more closer together. When if you would try to compare people from I don't know, Dolny and from maybe Bialystok, it's just the same as Czech people from Silesia. uh, think a bit and act a bit differently than the people from the Western Bohemia, because it's just such a distance.
Yeah, and I think the point is to focus really on the things that make our nations more connected to each other, and also things that can make us develop more, and maybe leave a little bit those that differentiates so much. And well, there's last question from my side. Then we will go to some of the questions from the audience. So at the very end, I would like to ask you, what is the point of exchanging culture at all? Jan, what do you think?
Well, in my opinion, the most important goal of cultural exchange is education, and also education should be based mostly on cultural exchange, because trips always open your eyes and allow you to expand your horizons. For example, Americans say they have a saying, "Traveling broadens your mind," and I do agree with it, and I think it is very true also in terms of cultural exchanges. In my opinion, the educational role of this is also based on getting, or mostly should be based on getting to know local cultures, traditions, language, customs, and local preferences. This is very important because it gives you a sense of feeling of the other nation, people, culture. This is very important. And also an important component of getting to know the culture of a given region is getting to know historical or political knowledge, even because it also draws the image a little further and broader. And despite the fact that in the history of the Czech Republic, for example, Czech politicians have had a rather ambivalent attitude towards Poles. Maybe it worked also in the other way around. The international situation may cause increased interactions between our two nations, and also, we can prove it by the situation in Ukraine, and right now, I think this unity in the West, which was caused by this horrible event of the war in Ukraine, should be used as an opportunity to strengthen this local relations, alliances, and redouble it with this strength, because it opens additional opportunities for us, for both of our countries.
I completely agree.
I
And
have
so,
to agree.
yeah. So, and what is
Yes,
your
I
point?
have to
Why we
agree.
should, yeah,
Yeah,
synchronize the culture?
I have to agree with Jan about that the cultural exchange is very important for education, for opening our minds and leaving the stereotypes aside and trying to find a new way of thinking and a new way of creating, and the differences, which may be small, which may be larger, but we should count with them and work with them, are the main point which can reach us, enrich us when we work together. That our own cultures are maybe developed and different ways of thinking. That's not a problem. That's an advantage that we just want to earn more when we merge the Czech and the Polish culture together. And I would love it would be if we could continue in that connected way and find much more new ways how to exchange uh, uh, just not only just projects somewhere around the border where the Czech and the Poles live, or just, as Ian also mentioned, students and uh, exchanging universities for a semester or two, which is such a great experience. But it would be, I think, so great if maybe more individual artists could just merge uh, in the cultural organization of the other state, to just learn more, not only about the way of creative thinking, but maybe as the organization itself. What from my personal experience admire about Polish culture is also reception of the culture, that it really matters, and that it can affect something, that maybe it can cause a scandal. I can't think myself about anything in Czech Republic from the past years that could, has that could have such an impact that it would really matter. So the reception of culture from people is something very important, and I think we could learn from you in that field.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And now I have a question from our audience. So let me read it. I was born in Warsaw and lived as an adult in Prague. Two great cities, each with a specific identity and energy. What makes cultural centers different, and how are they similar? That's a hard one. I can imagine. So maybe Sylvie, you can start.
Well, maybe I don't have experience with Warsaw, but I have experience with Prague. So maybe we can exchange it with Jan from each part. Uh, Prague is a very vibrant city, and of course, very multicultural and international. And it's in that way, it's very specific, and I think it couldn't be really comparable to any other cities in Czech Republic. So I wouldn't say it's quite Czech. It's just multicultural international city where and if I should say something about specifics, of course you have a lot of students here because of universities. So it's there is a lot of young cultural life. I think it's the totally it's a center of the independent culture of Czech Republic. You have a lot of small clubs, a lot of small underground theaters, and so there is kind of underground vibe of culture you wouldn't feel anywhere in the Czech Republic, if I should compare that.
So, Jan, could you comment on Warsaw in this case?
Yes, in this regard, I believe Warsaw is very similar to Prague. We are also, the biggest city in our country. Lots of different people, cultures here because of universities, also work opportunities and stuff. So this is, I believe, this is what we have in common if we talk about Prague and Warsaw. I have never been to Prague actually, so I don't have this direct comparison. I used to be in the Czech Republic a few times, but it was always some kind of rural area of the Czech Republic. However, I think these are very similar cities in a way that they are both capitals, they are both centers of culture, of politics, of diplomacy. I think it would be rather interesting to have some closer partnership between these two cities, two capitals, centers of many different areas of life in our both countries. I would rather say, based on what I think about Prague, the Czech Republic, what I got to know when I was in the Czech Republic, we are quite similar in many regards.
Perfect. Thank you very
I think the
much.
capitals.
Yes, please, Sylvie, please.
Yeah, I think that's the thing for the capitals, that they are the center of everything. I don't know if you would have comparison with any other Polish large city, but not the capital. That, of course, it's quite different because when you have the people, of course, you have some kind of culture, but it's I would say maybe Brno is quite international, but any other city, it's not comparable. Any other city in Czech Republic isn't comparable to Prague in that point of view.
Jan, what do you think? Do you have some other cities that might
Yeah,
be?
we have, for example, we have Krakow, which I think is also quite a big city, and also you can witness lots of cultures, lots of different initiatives there. So it might be comparable to Warsaw in a way. However, I still believe that I would agree with Sylvie that these two cities, Prague and Warsaw, are kind of unique for both of our countries because they are actually very maybe not crowded, but they are vibrant cities. You can see their capitals. Krakow, for example, Poland is rather a tourism based on tourism, a more historic town. So I still believe that our two capitals are one of a kind for both of our countries.
That is very well said. So I think we should visit each other in the near
Yes.
future to start, this actual cooperation, and not to just talk, but really do something. And well, my thanks to our guest for joining us today, and also our Czech partner, European Values. The event would be available on our Facebook, YouTube channel, and also at our webpage, warsawinstitute.org. So to be sure to share today's event with those who might be interested. So thank you very much for joining us today again, and we'll see you somewhere in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much for inviting. Thank you.